All right. What essentially we are going to cover today is one more tool which we use as a part of the PMS, which is called 360 degrees feedback. And also, we will be covering, as mentioned by Vilma, the the last stage. We talked about performance planning. We talked about managing performance. Now we talk about the performance review and rewarding system. So how does it happen? What do you do? So wherein we would also talk about the ratings, normalization, or the bell curve, and then how do you link it up to the reward system? And then, of course, back to the goal setting stage every year. Okay. All right. So here we go. Tell me how many of you heard about 360 degrees feedback? Or anyone? Just give me a thumbs up. Or what is your understanding when one says, yeah, somebody says already, Aarti, yeah, 360 degrees feedback. What is your understanding?
My understanding of 360-degree feedback is that feedback is taken from top and peers and also from the subordinates. That is 360-degree
Okay, okay. So a feedback is taken for a particular person, huh?
Yes,
From several stakeholders,
yes, yes.
uh,
Peers,
uh,
seniors.
who actually, he there are certain expectations from that role, and so they get the feedback as to what their experience has been in uh, in a certain criteria, right?
Right.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, okay. Anybody else? Hariom, have you heard about it?
Yes, ma'am. I heard that we are getting the feedback from the top management, customer, and the subordinates. We are getting the feedback from everyone who is related to that.
Okay. But why should we get a feedback from everybody? Just to find out. I mean, is it not enough to just look at his targets and the manager can give him the feedback? Why is it important to get feedback from others?
To stop the biasness,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, according to Hariom, he said biasness. Okay. Then, Arti, why do you think we should get feedback from others? You said peers, you said, manager from also
Because
report.
we always work in teams and everybody, the collaboration happens only when we have good synergy with the team members, whether it's peers or the subordinates, and then some project gets completed. We don't work in
Yes,
isolation.
yes. Yeah, very nice. Yes, so you all are there. So, as rightly stated, it can also be called as a multi-source feedback process, 360 degrees or a multi-source feedback process. So, as you rightly stated, an individual getting feedback, but feedback on what? Of course, on the performance, but in particular, it is not the targets or the what of the performance. It is more with respect to how of the performance. Is there a difference between what of the performance and how of the performance? Anybody? I use two words: what of the performance, how of the performance, or I can say what of the results and how of the results. What is the difference
How
between what and how?
how of the results, ma'am?
Pardon?
How of the results, ma'am?
Yeah. So,
360.
what is the difference between what and how? Okay. So, so this is what something very, very, say, for example, Hari Om is a senior manager HR. Okay. HRBP. Now, he has achieved his targets, whatever he had to do, then, uh, uh, you know, consistently been performing very well. But I actually discovered that there is huge He's a senior manager HR. There's a huge, don't feel bad, Hariom. There's a huge attrition in his team. Then the employees are very scared of him. Okay. And all his peers. See, he also works with HR operations. He also works with the payroll guy. So they're very scared of him. They avoid collaborating with him. And then the customers, external customers, wherein he has to handle, uh, they feel he is very arrogant. Okay. So now what happens? He is performing his targets, the what of the performance, whatever he has to do, that is there in order. But you are finding all these things. So what do you think? So the behaviors are very, very important, right? So whenever we are getting a feedback, not only has he completed his results, or not only has he achieved his performance or targets, but how did he manage to perform? So the behaviors come into play typically. So for whom should we be doing the 360 degrees feedback? Any idea? So typically what happens, we do 360 degrees feedback, typically for people who are in leadership positions, who are a team leader, who are a production manager, who has a team under him. Because as a boss, okay, I want to know what do your peers feel about it. Are you collaborating? I want to know what is your team feeling about it. Are you a good leader? What is your leadership style? Are you very command and control and very arrogant? I want to know how your customers feel. Do they feel that you are very arrogant, or do they feel that you have a very service oriented behavior? Right? So in 360 degrees feedback, there is something called self appraisal. That means you do your own feedback, and also how are the others perceiving you? How are the others also looking at you in terms of results, collaboration, leadership style, etc. So this is what essentially happens when we are looking at a feedback. It's more with reference to the behavioral competencies. It is not so much to do with the results. Results quantified. Say, for example, sales manager, regional target. Okay. He has to make 450 units. Quantified. He has only made 430. So what can you make out? That means there's still a gap of how many units? If he has to make 450 and he has made 430, what is the gap?
20 units.
There's still 20. So there's nothing, no great science I can make out if everything is quantified. So this was the target and you made this much. So you have not made this much. How did you achieve this? That's important. Like, for example, if you are achieving targets by what? By huge attrition of your team, or customers are not happy, or team is not happy, your leadership is not good, you don't uh, do planning meetings, okay, you don't do collaboration, then are you a good leader? Obviously not, because it is very short term. The targets go to some time. After that, the culture gets disrupted. So therefore, the focus on what? 360 degrees feedback. And what is important in that? The competencies. What are the behavioral competencies? Now, so you can see the main purpose of a 360 degrees performance appraisal is for the managers to evaluate an employee's overall performance by receiving insight from superiors, peers, clients, other team members. Okay. And they give you the feedback on the competencies uh, um, through which he has performed his achievement or target. Now, when we talk about that, we also have to we have to decide, hey, why am I taking this 360 degrees feedback? Is it for development purposes? Is it for PMS appraisal purpose? So I have to, is it for promotional purpose? I have to be very, very clear about that. So sometimes what happens if we are not very clear about the what is the intent, what is the purpose of the 360 degrees feedback, then what happens? My entire questionnaire doesn't align with my purpose or intent. Every time the goal is very, very important. Okay. So, but this is 60 degrees feedback. It also gives you an insight on leadership, as we talked about, self awareness, development, and behavioral insights. It's like this. If you see a visual picture, essentially in the traditional um, format, only the manager is to give a feedback. But now what happens? You are taking feedback from not only the manager, your direct reporters, your peers, your customers. So both external and internal customers. Why? To enable the person to perform better. Instead of one person giving feedback, all these people will give feedback from their own lens. How did they experience him in terms of what their expectations was? Okay. Now, so typically what happens when you do a 360 degrees feedback, you have to identify what is that you need to identify, for which roles are you doing, and what are those competencies you want to check. So competencies are very, very important. You cannot just ask him for certain competencies where the stakeholders are not able to see anything demonstrated by the role. Okay, let me just show you. Let me just take you to the, this will be a better bet. Yeah. Okay, we talked about from where does the feedback come? It comes from all these people. Okay. And what is it used for? Typically, it is used for leadership development, to test behavioral competencies, and also to look at the effectiveness of managers. Okay. And also sometimes it is used for promotions. Now, 360 degrees feedback cannot be used for what increments, or cannot be used for appraising the rating. It is used only for what? Building a developmental plan, or in cases of where you want to promote him, you want to know where this person is as of now, vis-a-vis the competencies required, so that you are able to then upskill him through those gaps. Okay. So it is not ideal to use this for salary increments. It is an ideal instrument to help in the development. All right. In the managerial effectiveness, but not for salary increments. So as I said, step one. So step by step, how do you go about a 360 degrees feedback? Step one, you need to definitely define your purpose. Is it for development? Or is it for promotion? Or is it to build a leadership pipeline? Because your questionnaire will depend on what is the intent. For example, we are coming to Siriji's type of industry. Okay. I want you, I know we have what? Restaurant managers. Typically in restaurant managers, what happens? They're dealing with customers. They have a team. So they also have to have some kind of a leadership, right? So this Siriji's restaurant chain says, hey, we want to improve 3 competencies. What are the 3 competencies? I want to see if people are awake. What are the 3 competencies in the restaurant chain of Siriji we want to improve? Yeah?
Customer
Anybody?
orientation, customer
Customer
orientation,
orientation. Yes.
teamwork,
Yes. And leadership.
leadership behavior.
Yeah. As a restaurant manager, he would be interacting with a lot of customers. He would also have a team. Okay. So now I decide to do a 360 degrees feedback for restaurant managers. What do I want to know? I want to know where are they right now on these three aspects so that I can then improve them. Okay. So what will you do next step? Now you have identified what competencies. Now you have to define them. When I say customer orientation, do I and my other team members understand what is customer orientation? Is the definition having a common understanding? That's very important. So I have to define. So anybody who has who can tell me, so team leadership. So what does it mean? Motivates and guiding the staff. Customer focus, that means handling guests effectively. Communication, clear instructions and listening. So these are the definition. Like say, for example, problem solving. That means handles rush hour issues because typically a restaurant manager, there will be a spike, people will be waiting, queuing up. So how does he manage this, right? Collaboration. So how does he work with the kitchen and the service teams? All these things. So then what do I do? From where do I get the competencies typically for a role? Anybody has done competency mapping, competency frameworks previously? Anybody? Yeah, none. So for a particular role, say for example, if Sriji is an HRPP, so there will be certain competencies or there will be a competency framework for her. So where will I get? The organizations typically would have worked, competency mapping and say that, hey, for an HRBP role, these are the competencies required. Okay, they could be in terms of customer leadership, etc. So you have a competency model there. So you pick them up from there. And if you don't have, then you can also, which we will be doing in the activity, we can also look at a certain off-the-shelf product, which is called Concom, behavioral competencies. So now, once you have understood and everybody has a common understanding, step 3, you have to define the indicators. What are behavioral indicators? Anybody? Hey, please, what is behavioral indicator? Okay, I'll
Uh,
ask you this. Yeah, yeah. I'll ask you another way question. How do I know? How do I know that this is a competency, customer orientation, or say customer focus? How do I know that this restaurant manager is customer focused? Hey guys, how do I know his or okay? How do I know this restaurant manager is a problem solver?
Depends upon the feedback.
He handles the problem easily,
Huh?
and he handles the problem easily and resolves, gives the resolution.
Yes, 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 you are close to that. So, if I say Aarti is a very committed person for the sessions, how do I get to know that she's a very committed person? Commitment.
She comes on time. She does
Yeah.
the
So
assignment,
she
and
demonstrates some things. What is that? She's coming for all the sessions. A behavior. I can observe that. What cannot be observed is not a behavior then, no? Even keeping quiet, that's also behavior, no? I observe that she's most of the time not saying anything, not participating. So I can say, hey, she's not participating. So I can't assume. So I will then further probe further. So what is a behavioral indicator? What does it mean? What are those observable behaviors which will show that yes, this person is customer focused or this person is problem solver. So when I'm saying I want to test those competencies of customer focus or problem solving or communication, I need to write those indicators. Got it? And also not only write, say for example, customer focus, responds calmly to complaints. Can you see this behavior? What cannot be observed cannot be a behavioral indicator. Got it? That's the first test. Ensures guest satisfaction. Follows up on unresolved issues. Now, raters, now as a rater, I know exactly what to observe. When I say this person is customer focused, I will look at all these three behavioral indicators and say whether it is one which could be the least. So I will do a rating then 1, 2, 3. Say, for example, um, poor, average, outstanding. So based on, and at every rating also, I will say shows little. Okay. Excellent in so outstanding could be ensures excellent guest satisfaction. So obviously the rating will be 3. So what happens? The stakeholders, be it internal, external, they are not rating the person in vacuum, or they're not rating the person from their own opinions or judgments. Their rating is based on what? Is based on demonstrated behavior. Please, are you getting me? Just give me a thumbs up. That's important. It is based on demonstrated behavior. Got it? Yeah? Because if it is opinionated, if it is vacuum, then it's all bias. My perception, Aarti dresses very well. So I'll say, hey, she's a great leader. But I haven't even, I haven't actually seen those leadership indicators which are written, and I want to say, oh, she dresses very well, and I'm thinking, oh, she's a great leader. Somebody is speaking very excellent communication the first time, and I say, hey, the great leader, and good for the job. How? Halo effect. It's a personal bias, but has he or she demonstrated? So, in order that in order to ensure that raters do not get into these personal biases or their opinions or judgments, so you plan beforehand the indicators and the rate, so that all that they need to do is what? Look at the indicators and then see where they have been, rating, how they have demonstrated. So can you see? So for every indicator, you have this rating. One could be his, okay, that indicator. And fifth will be a very at excellent. So typically you can have 1 to 3 as well, or 1 to 5. But typically, 1 to 3 makes it very easy. So they also use, some organizations use different scales, frequency scale, effectiveness scale, etc. So now you know how it is, guys. How to, so when the rater, so typically what happens, the restaurant manager, Ravi, so I'm giving it to peer managers, team members too. So how is the rating? I'll show you. Good rating. Worked closely with employees, observed behavior regularly, mature enough to give objective feedback. Usually, so what happens? Then looking at the ratings, the HR, then what happens is, are there any discrepancies, etc., if there are any mistakes? Then what happens? You collate all the data and then you conduct a feedback, giving what? The strengths and areas for improvement. So this is how multi 360 degrees multi-rater feedback is done. Okay. So what I will do is we will actually jump to, which will be much more interesting. See, this is how it is. You get from self, you get from manager, you get from peers, then you make an average of it, and then you say, hey, this is what it is. And then qualitative um, comments are then conveyed to the uh, person who's being given the feedback. Okay.
Ma'am, I
So
have
like,
one query
yes.
on that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like here we have mentioned the confidentiality, like but the this it is should be the transparent, who is giving the rating, what is giving. So thus I'm somewhat confused on that.
Hariom, typically, um, what does the HR do is, this is the one, huh? We won't name the people, okay? In a 360 degrees feedback, we won't name the people. Typically, what happens, it's kept confidential, the name. We only collect the feedback, okay?
Okay, understood.
Okay,
Suppose we have
okay?
set up one system, PMS system. We have set up that, and
Uh,
with the PM system, the is going to the subordinate and the customer. Everyone is going to
uh,
take the feedback. In
right,
this
right.
case,
Uh,
so the employee can clearly see that who is given the what the rating they are giving. So how we will manage this point?
See, in some organizations, no, but these things are very. See, one is on what is he giving feedback. If I ask Aarti, give me feedback on CG, who's a team member, maybe. Oh, she's good. So I need to create a criteria for her, for Aarti, on what is she going to give feedback about CG. Got it? That's the first point. Okay. So, on what is Aarti going to give feedback for CG? Who's a team member? She will. We will write all the competencies required. Do the rating scale. Do the behavioral indicators, etc. Now the person say will take communication. Okay. So typically, if you have noticed, even in your organizations, you will have something called a self appraisal. Do you have or not? A self appraisal in the sense that everybody, yeah, do you have one?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
have to actually rate
Yes,
yourself.
yeah.
Huh? Self appraisal. Say, for example, in communication, the self appraisal, your rating has come as 4.7. Okay. But then when HR collates data, it finds that in the 360 degrees feedback, the average rating is 3.3. I rate myself very high, but the others are seeing as low. Got it?
Okay.
So when I'm giving a feedback to this person X about whom I've done a 360 degrees feedback, what I will do, I won't name the people who have given him, but I'll say, hey, this is how your peers are seeing you. This is how your team is seeing you. So this is the kind of behavior you have demonstrated. So this is how you have to improve. Like, for example, here, the manager has rated him 3.5, which is the lowest here in communication.
Team.
Team.
Team. What does the team mean? That means,
The
see,
peer,
have you noticed?
coordination.
Teams ratings are like even leadership is 3.2. Managing
Yes.
team, managing team, how he communicates, what kind of a leadership style he has. So typically what happens, a leader has to ensure that the team grows. He has to facilitate, he has to nurture, he has to understand. So that means he is not doing that much. See,
Mhm.
3.2, 3.1, right? Customer is
Mhm.
very good. This guy, 4.2, 4.1, 4.3, very good. But when it comes to managing his team, he's not good. So I will tell, hey, Ravi, so that restaurant manager, I'll say restaurant manager he is. So Ravi, you need to improve your what? Ability to communicate well with your team. See, communicating with your team is different. Communicating with your boss is different. Yes or no?
Yes.
Your communication style, will it remain the same with your boss and with your team?
No, it will
No.
change.
Because the purposes are different. From the team, you have to communicate in such a way. You have to do what? Planning. You have to organize. You have to delegate. You have to tell them how to go about with things. And then you have to understand their strengths and weaknesses and then upskill them or develop them. That's how the team grows, right? But when it comes to manager, it's different, no? So some people, if you notice, they're very good with the managers. The manager will say, oh, he's a great guy. But ask their team, oh my God, he's a horrible guy. Have you got such? Huh? Now, his peers, have you seen his peers' feedback is also 3.6 and 3.4? What does it mean? That he's not a very collaborative guy. Got it? Typically, with the peers, what happens? There is interdependency. You have to collaborate. Say, for example, Aarti has to collaborate with all the other. Who are her peers? First of all, she is the CHRO. So, who will be her peers?
VP sales, the other stakeholders, other leadership team.
The other head of
Absolutely. All the other key stakeholders, like, all the functional heads. The production guy will say, oh, she doesn't even give me timely, she doesn't fill my numbers. Sales guy will say, no, the incentive plan is not. So every functional head has certain kind of a key expectation from Aarti, right? Or collaboration, interdependency. So they see her in that light. But whereas her team will see her in a different light. Is she a great leader? Is she nurturing, facilitating? Her boss, CEO, will see, hey, how reliable she is, how trustworthy she is, how accountable she is, ownership. Does she get me the results quickly? Does she get me everything, whatever I need? Is she proactive? That's all. So are you seeing the difference between, manager, peer, teams? So now if you see this person, even for peers, the feedback is a little much lesser, right? So see what the feedback is then. See? Oh, sorry. So you will see that, this guy is a little low on self-awareness and possibly he has some kind of a communication blind spots. What does it mean, blind spot?
They are not aware of the
I'm
fact.
not aware of what have you all done Johari window?
Yes,
Mm.
The
ma'am.
public self and the private self and the blind self, unknown. So public is like I know about myself and then even others know what I know. But this blind is like CG knows something about Aarti, but Aarti does not know about that herself. So it's always nice to give a feedback to him saying that, hey, this is an area which you don't know that you are doing badly. You need to improve. So that's why feedback is also important very many times. Got it, guys? So when you do this now activity, you will understand it better. And there is a very interesting activity which takes into consideration everything, right from what is it, picking a role to creating a questionnaire to rating and also then giving them feedback. Okay. All right. Any questions before we get into the activity stuff? Any questions, Aarti, Sriji, Hariom? I don't know who else is here. Chanel, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Any questions? None? Okay.
No, not right.
Yeah.
This is the exercise which we have already shared, and very clearly step by step process is given, and ma'am has already now given you all the context how the 360 feedback has to be done and what all goes into it in terms of competencies, questions, ratings, and everything. So now we are going to do it for one of the role. So which role should we choose?
Which role are you talking about?
We have
Yeah.
done a lot of HR role. Can we do some sales role or manufacturing or operations guy or finance guy? Let's do other functional.
Guys, don't be quiet. Huh?
Operation manager.
Operation
Great.
manager.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Great. I'll just take a minute. So what are we doing? We are doing 360 degrees feedback as a part of the PMS and also for his developmental plan for this role called operational manager. Now, operational manager has a team, as I said, for whom do you do 360 degrees feedback? Not for somebody at a very low level who's just an associate. You typically do it for leadership roles, team managers, team leads, whoever is actually managing a team. Got it? Okay. Yeah. Carry on. Further on. Next, Wilma.
Yeah. So for an operation manager, just think what kind of competencies we will definitely share the lead. We have given you the Quancom, but before that, we want you to think that what kind of competencies would be required for an operations manager. Each one of you just think and
Yeah, one at least.
randomly, yeah, think.
It can be wrong, it can be right. It's okay.
Yes, there's nothing right and wrong. We are
Problem solving.
problem solving. Yeah. Next.
Team development.
Yeah, keep telling.
Leadership. Same, I guess.
Time management.
Hmm?
Time management.
Time management. Yes.
What do you say for that? The daily operations. How do we say it? Running the daily operations.
Something like planning and organizing?
Planning, organizing,
Yeah,
day-to-day
planning.
operations.
Day-to-day operations. Yeah.
Planning and organizing.
Yeah, I thought we did that, no?
Yeah. Next.
Very important key, I mean. Yeah. What about customer? No need?
Yes.
Are they indirect interface with the customers? Do they?
No, not really. Well,
Internal
sometimes.
customers? Internal
Yes, with internal customers, yes.
Yes. Yeah. What do you write?
Customer service.
Stakeholder management? Internal customers are your internal stakeholders? Or
Oh, that's what you're talking
what do you
about.
say?
Yeah, vendor management. Yeah, or internal management. I don't know.
The right word is stakeholder. हेलो ठीक है थैंक यू भेज दो अमाउंट right it could be any function
Mm-hmm.
yeah more
Okay. I think
that thing is
enough.
good enough right
Yeah, that's good enough.
now
Yeah.
let's now each one of you think from your organizational perspective what kind of behavior which you can observe behaviors are always observable you can see so if you are saying problem solving what kind of behavior you have observed in the past recent past or at any point of time during your interaction with you or your colleagues you have observed Just think of a person whom you are relating to and give one behavior.
What does one do when you have to solve problems? I mean, when an operational manager, he solves problems, when problems come up, what does he do? How does he demonstrate that?
Somebody who analyzes the problem well
Hmm.
and
That is internal.
Ident-
Analyzing is
ident-
internal behavior.
can't be so should be observable, right?
Hmm. Analyzing is fine. Then what does he do after that?
He reacts calmly to it, understanding
Comes
the
forward.
root cause.
Resolve the problem. That's observed. That's what we observe because the
Comes
problem.
forward with a solution,
Yeah, solid solution comes with
right?
solution. Yeah.
So so whenever you have a problem, how can you solve a problem? You have to first of all identify the issues, right? Then analyze them. Then you need to find out the root causes, then evaluate alternatives, and then take a what? Timely solution to get the desired outcome. So therefore, when you're doing this, you have to actually do a very small, because rating comes a little, we also have to do the rating. So you have to have a little understanding as to what is problem solving. You can quickly say in a very short sentence, identify, analyze, find the root cause, and give solutions, provide solutions. That's what it is, right? Because
Mhm.
when you're saying solving problem, that means output should be a solution. And how do you go about with the output? You are identifying, analyzing, and coming up with what could be the causes, and then giving the best solution. Will you agree, all of you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So all this can be observed, right?
Right.
Because all these things he is doing while he is performing the role of an operations manager through his interactions with his team members. Because the problem is around the work area with the team members. So obviously he's interfacing with them, right? So how well he is interfacing with them, identifies it, analyzes it, finds the root cause, and provides solutions to get the work done faster. At the end, it is the result, the final output. Now, who can observe?
Team members,
Team
manager.
members. Correct.
Absolutely. Great.
Team members. They are the
The
people
boss can't
direct.
observe much. Maybe if only the solution he can, sometimes when he comes up with a decision. But yes, team members, peers,
Priority.
customers. Yeah, priority. Great.
Low, mid, high. Right? This is how you prioritize. Now, in terms of priority, where do you rate?
Will
High.
PSP low, M or high?
High.
High.
Absolutely. Who said that?
Me, Siji.
CG.
No, absolutely. Because the operational guy will have so many. Oh, production means you'll have problems.
Next, team development. What do you think you can relate with team development? The keywords. What do you think? When you develop a team, what do you do? Here, all the observable
Manage team
behaviors
well.
are what you do, what is being done, the what part, what he does.
Recognize the good work and kind of.
That is a part of reward.
When you're
Managing
developing,
team well, ma'am. Manages
Aarti?
you're
team well.
coaching, you're supporting, you're
Coaching,
motivating.
teaching, hand-holding, right? Aarti, you have been doing for your member, right?
Yeah.
Coaching,
Yeah.
guidance.
Mentoring, yeah.
Team development is an
Guiding.
output. What is that you do is coaching, supporting, motivating, nurturing, creating opportunities. A good leader always creates opportunities for employees to grow or for the team to grow. Excellent. Yeah.
Who can observe?
Team members.
Excellent. Yeah.
Direct, yes, they are the recipient. So direct will be the team members. They are the best people to give you the answers, the feedback, right?
Hi.
I.
Absolutely. Team has to be developed.
Yeah, better the team,
Which could
better
be mid to
results.
high, which is important. Yeah.
Leadership. What does a leader do? Always put a question. What the leader does.
Inspires others to do.
Great, Aarti. Absolutely. Influencing, guiding, inspiring the team.
Yeah, others also please tell. Inspires. Next,
Setting clear objectives.
clarity, right? Leader
Clarity.
should have all the clarity. Setting, uh, right? Objectives. Yes.
Absolutely. Building trust.
Even expectations, right? Not only objective, but also expectations.
Questions.
So, clarity. Yes, next.
Yeah, that's enough.
Inspires, set right objectives, expectations, clarities, motivates. Right? Can influence will come in leadership?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Does this look good?
Mhm.
Right? So these are the things which you can observe in his behavior during his interactions. Who can observe?
Peers.
Peers.
Team
Yes.
members.
Subordinate.
Peers.
Subordinate.
Subordinate.
Yeah. So here, in fact, team members are also like subordinates.
So everybody comes in that. Peers and subordinates. Because see, you will be using this later on to take feedback, correct?
Yeah.
That is why we are writing this here, so that later on, when you send for feedback, you will be sending to these respective teams for assessing those competencies. Can we add stakeholder here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Right? Because he's in the leadership team. So he is interacting at the leadership levels. So stakeholders. Priority,
Hi, ma'am.
everything is high.
Yeah.
You have taken
Yeah.
all priorities. Bechara operations manager. Time management.
If he doesn't do these things, he's on fire then.
Yeah.
Because the sales guy will say, I have already promised the customer that you are not delivering.
Time management.
Prioritizing important.
Exactly. Excellent.
Yeah.
Prioritizing.
Vision.
Because you are managing time efficiently to complete work within the deadlines.
Very key factor, right?
Mhm.
While maintaining quality and productivity as well, because what happens quite often, recruiter, he will, oh, 20 numbers, okay, I'm going to fill in within this time. But then in terms of quality parameters, it's all, you know, so after, like I said, 15 days, 1 month, you will find that 50% of the people are not at all fit for the jobs. So
Now,
quality parameters are very important when you are looking at time management, not just quantity.
now the behavior, if you can observe what he is doing, he is prioritizing work with deadlines. Have you noticed people, who are very particular with times, are very conscious about time management? They will have a calendar, they will have a checklist, they will carry a notebook or a notepad. Observe it, they will always have it in their hand. The first thing in the morning when they come, they will have the calendar in front of them, right? They will not waste time. They will be very particular. If the one meeting is till 1 to 2 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, he'll say, okay, fine, we are done with it. Let's close and let's meet. And he'll move on to the next. They will not prolong the meetings. They will not prolong the discussions. This is a behavior. Correct? You can observe these things. Now, who can observe?
It can be peers.
Peers. All these,
Same.
right?
Yeah.
Because he's interfacing with all of them and it is observable.
The top management can also observe, right?
हाँ, वो stakeholder में आ गया, leadership team
ठीक
में.
ठीक ठीक.
You can add here to be more precise, leadership team. Correct? Priority.
Very high.
Hi.
But we don't have very high. You can have it. Uh,
Very demanding people we have in our.
दाल रोटी डिपेंड करती है ऑपरेशन वाले पे, तो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन बढ़ गया तो प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी कम हो
Very high.
जाएगी. हाई
Because,
हाई.
because deliverables are attached to it, right? If you delay the things, the repercussions will be there. So yes, it is on a high. Next, day-to-day operations. Very
in
important.
fact, planning and organizing and execution, no, you can, it can be a part of time management also. Okay. Execution is an activity. So planning and organizing can
Yes.
be clubbed.
Yes,
I
yes.
said can be clubbed. I mean.
It is. Because you plan it and organize it. Then only you can manage your
And
time.
day-to-day operations is an activity. Day-to-day operations.
Execution.
It's not.
Here it is an execution. Operation is execution, right? Time planning is organizing. Planning, organizing is time. So see, two different things. Both go hand in hand, of course. So, what is the behavior?
Completes daily task.
Task status.
Task status.
Checks on.
Yeah.
Checks on daily task status. That is why you are required to send reports, right? At the end of the day, what has been done? Status. Very important thing. The first thing in the morning. Right? Then what did you do? When you sit with a to-do list, what do you do?
We check the tasks, what are done, what are not done. Something which is undone, it goes to the next day's to-do list.
Then you prioritize. You
Yeah,
can't do all the activities together,
Yeah.
right? You prioritize. If you have done the competency mapping training, you have learned the intra exercise where you do the prioritization. Because
My suggestion is we put this day-to-day operations and execution as a job responsibility. I mean, more of a job responsibility. Like, for example, if you are given an operation manager a job description, it can form as a part of his JD, saying he has to do day-to-day operation, execute tasks, etc. Okay.
Yeah, it is the job description, but then the
Yeah.
behavior, what behavior he displays, among his team.
Yeah.
What
We
does he
can
do? What
take
does
it.
he do? He does the check-ins first. Some managers you'll see will not do even check-ins also. And randomly they will come and bang you. So no, if you have to do a good work, you have to have regular check-ins. Follow-ups. Isn't it required?
Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Done. It is a must. What happens if you see many managers, some managers will give the task and then he will come after a few hours and check in. Are my team members stuck up somewhere? So if they need my help, he could guide them, coach them, counsel them, and get the work done so that they can finish it by end of the day. Some managers will give the task and forget it. And the end of the day, while packing, he will say, Acha, kya hua? What happened to that work? Then he'll say, Sir, I was not getting this, I was not getting that data, so I'm stuck. Right? So you can observe. A prompt operation manager will definitely do regular task check-ins and follow-ups. That is the behavior portrayed by a good operation manager. Who can observe? Same? The entire,
Same team members take.
right? Whole. Priority?
Hi.
High.
Hi, only.
Yeah, everything is high. Everything is urgent.
कुछ भी मीडिया लो नहीं हो सकता, सब इसका हाई है.
He's the guy, he's an execution guy, right? Most demanding, has to get the work done. Internal stakeholder management. Yeah. What does he do?
Collaborates and
Absolutely. Maintaining good or effective
Behavior kya hai? What does he
working
do?
relationships. Working relationships.
working good
Maintains relationship. Good. Maintains good working relationship. But don't you think this is a statement? It is not a behavior, right? How does he portray that? How does he display that? A relationship would be
By communication effectively, by communicating it effectively.
effective. Now, communication. Now, what is effective? This is also a statement. How does he do? This is a digital era. Everybody, when you communicate verbally or through data.
Retention or repeat order.
conflict, zero conflict with stakeholders. That is management here. No issues, no grievances. That's how I see it.
Effective management through data. You will just say, sir, बहुत अच्छा काम हुआ. Yes, sir, it's done. Will the stakeholder be satisfied? Aarti?
No.
हो रहा है, sir, हो रहा है. We are doing. He is not satisfied.
बताओ क्या हुआ, कहाँ तक पहुंचे.
Yes, through data. That is where the technology comes in. They understand data. They can understand the visuals. Right? They don't need your, entire working sheet. If you go and sit with them with your working sheet, what is this? I don't understand. Show me the output, the numbers, the data. That is what is understood by the leadership team, by the stakeholders. And if you are good at that, obviously you'll have a very strong stakeholder management. Your proposals will get approved faster. You will be heard. Correct? So who can observe? stakeholder
Stakeholders. Yeah.
and leadership team, correct? Priority? They are the final stage.
High.
Is that mid? Is that medium?
You're thinking, let's give medium. We haven't given yet.
It will be high only. It's stakeholders
It
anyway.
is high. Everything you have to get approved through them, right? So this is it. So now you understood how the behaviors are observed. It is not task oriented. Task they do, but how they do it, that is important. That is displayed through their behaviors. What he does this, yes, I can see he does this. He follows up with the team. He does the routine daily task updates. He takes that. Yes, he prioritizes the deadlines. He has the calendars, the checklist, everything ready, observable. He inspires the people, yes. He clearly sets the objective expectations and motivates them. Coaching, again, observable. Identifies and provides solution, observable. So all these things are observable. Correct? Is it clear? So they should understand it very clearly. Now the third step is write feedback questions. Now what is feedback questions? Should we look at the sample? Now see. Competency is communication. So what kind of questions should you ask? Does the employee communicates clearly? Whoever is the rater, that you have to decide. And the rating scale, as usual, is always between 1 to 5. 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. So for communication, what is the question asked? Does the employee communicates clearly?
Clearly.
Leadership, does the employee guide the team effectively? Right? Similarly, for the competencies which you have created, now you have to write for them. Okay? So these are your competencies. Okay. Now comes the question. Problem solving. Now let me tell you here. I mean, of course, we should think and write, but you should not only work alone, you should also use your AI assistant to help you, right? These things, questions can be very nicely and easily developed by AIs. You don't even need to, because your task is to execute, implement, which AI cannot do. But AI can organize the things, give you the questions, the responses, which you can apply. So that makes your work faster. Correct? Give this template, just this entire template, give it to AI. I am doing a 360-degree feedback behavioral assessment. This is step 1, which we have done for the operation manager. Step 2, mapping competencies against the behaviors, which has been already stated. Now, I want you to write feedback questions for the given competencies with the open questions. And the raters. Raters are also given here. So it can identify, read the document that you have given and give the raters. Right? So this can be done in seconds. You just have to cut, copy, paste and put your questions with clear instruction. What is my ask? My ask is to complete the step 3. Create the feedback question and it will just give you in few seconds. So what I do? I just cut, copy, paste the entire thing till here. Till here we have done step 2, right? Yeah. Can you see now? Okay. So this is what was the competencies, correct? And you were required to create the questions and give the rating. So the instruction was given, step 1, step 2 completed. That set of sheet was given and was asked to do the competency question. So what did it do? Problem solving. First was your problem solving. So it gave 2 questions on problem solving. Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am. We can see the
Okay.
screen.
So what is the 2 questions? Aarti, read out.
How
Ma'am,
effectively does the operation manager identify root cause and provide practical solutions to operational issues? And the second question of problem solving is share one example where the manager solved a difficult operational problem effectively.
Right. So whom are you sending this question as to?
Team members.
Team members. Correct? So has AI given the right answer? Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So this is okay. Rating 1 to 5 and 1 is open question. So there are 2 kinds. One, for this they can rate in 1 to 5 and this is an open question. So there they have to answer, giving an example, an event, right? How he has solved the difficult operations, which the team member can answer because they are working with him every day. So they are the best people to give the answers. Okay, done. Next is team development. Yeah, team development.
How effectively does the manager coach, guide, and support team members in their development? The next question is what additional support or development opportunities can the manager provide to the team?
Are the questions apt?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So one is open question and one is rating scale.
Wait for this.
Again, team development. Who would be the best rater? Team member. Correct? Done. Leadership. Om. Om, are you there?
yes,
I can't
yes.
see. Oh, he's
How,
very much there.
Yeah, leadership.
how effectively does the manager provide clarity, motivate the team, and influence positive performance?
Mhm.
So it's going to the peers, subordinate, and stakeholders.
Right.
And second one is the what leadership strength of the manager having positively impacted the team or business. It's
Now,
also yes,
open question.
yes,
Excellent.
Yeah. Correct?
yes.
So should we give excellent to AI?
No, what it has done, it has read your data. We had
Ma'am, what,
already shared the
ma'am,
inputs.
I have one question. What the command I have to give to AI to make such kind of the question? We have copied that. That
Yes,
what?
yes. So first you gave this. Now, because you already have the template, right?
Yes.
So you gave this. I have completed step 1 to step 2. Now you complete the step 3. So what it will do? It will read your competencies, the behaviors, the team members. So he has got
For
all the
which
inputs.
role you have to do it, it will do that and then give you
Give
everything.
you. So see, it is appropriately giving those same questions which you would have thought or done brainstorming and written, right? So you got all these things in few seconds.
Okay,
And
understood.
at times you can modify it a little.
Then, of course, you have to review. If you need some changes, yes, make the changes and edit it. Okay.
And
Yeah.
Time management, we are looking at how effectively does the manager prioritize work and ensures tasks are completed within deadlines. So within deadlines, is he completing the task? And this is
Can
a
you hear me?
rating.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Kalpa? Ah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I wanted to share that I think providing clarity to the team members is first point to me, right? In terms of the goals, what is being expected and everything.
Which point you are talking, which competency?
The team
Team development.
team
Ha.
development.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and performance is not just a one-time approach. It is a regular check-ins and the mid-year reviews and everything. So it is important to assess where the individual is at the beginning of the performance cycle, and also having this regular check-ins will actually help.
So what is the question that you'll ask? Because you will be sending for feedback, right? So
Huh.
what is the question? Here we are building the question.
Question, yes.
Now, what you have told,
Uh,
now convert it into a question. What question it would be?
how effectively the first one I'm actually taking it up.
This is for team development, right?
Yes, yes.
Continuous improvement could be one thing, because as she's rightly pointed out, that has to be on a regular basis. So is he
That
able to?
means when she wants these information, that she has to be more specific. Questions
Okay.
have to be very specific. That does he does continuous improvement with the team members? Then he will answer, right? So what are those questions that you want or you have in mind? Just state that.
How effectively he ensures the team improves continuously, or maybe on continuous basis regularly,
Or
and
if it is
reviews
for
quarterly.
Or if it is for team members, we can just put, is the manager meeting you regularly in 3 months or six
Yeah.
months time for a
Check-ins.
feedback
Yeah.
checking? Yeah.
Do you
Um,
have regular
can I
check-in with
bring
your?
in some can I bring in some clarification here? Yeah.
Mhm.
I am acknowledging Kalpavali's I've got the wrong now. Question. Okay. So she says, as a part of team development, the operational manager, after setting the goals, has to manage the performance of the team in a continuous manner by looking at uh, the performance outcomes and also giving feedback continuously and course corrections, etc. Now this is a part of the activity. Now this tool, 360 degrees feedback tool, you are essentially, you know uh, taking the feedback for key competencies, and you are looking at team development not as, that activity which is just a task which can be looked at, but this you are looking at a higher behavioral competency. You getting me? So here, because if you start incorporating all the task activities, is he doing this as a part of the team development? Is he doing this as a part of the course correction? Is he checking thoroughly? Is he doing feedback effective? So then what happens? It becomes almost like, an appraisal interview. So here we want to ask the feedback. It's called a 360 degrees multi-rater feedback, essentially trying to understand what are the key competencies of that role and how is he performing in that, vis-a-vis those competencies. Got it, Kalpagiri?
Now the
Yes.
question. Now the thought that you had in mind. Now this is
We
the
can give
question.
4 or 5 more questions because
This
she's
is
talking about continuous, what is it, follow-up and continuous effective, course corrections,
I got it.
continuous development.
Here she has to send a questionnaire to the team member. So the question has to be rightly framed. What she desires the responses to be accordingly, right? So what is the question she has to send? How effectively does the manager conduct regular check-ins, provide course corrections, and support continuous improvement within the team? Very specific question, right? This is what you wanted?
That, hey, as an operational manager, is he doing these things? Then the team member will say, how effectively is the manager conducting regular check-ins, providing course correction, supporting continuous improvement within the team? So the team members, because this manager is demonstrating whatever behavior that manager is demonstrating, they will rate him maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, based on their observation, based on their experience.
Yes, clear.
Yeah.
Clear? Now this
So we
was
can have
given
more
by
than one question also, no? For one competency, if you're sending a questionnaire to the team member, there can be 3, 4 questions for
yes, yes,
one
yeah,
competency.
of course.
Absolutely, you can have even 5, 6 questions because
Yes, yes.
it is not that you can, just with one question you can observe that
There can
you
be
break
2,
it
3,
up
4
and
questions.
have
Yes.
5 to 6 questions as well.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Now, what was happening? KPG had a thought in her mind, but that was not organized, correct? So whatever her thought was there was given to the AI agent that to design a questionnaire. This is for the competency team development. Unorganized thought. Just I had put the thoughts and design a questionnaire. And this is how it gave me 2 questionnaires based on the unorganized input given. Was it good to go? Right?
Correct.
So this
Yeah.
saves your time and effort to think. You have the ideas, you know what you want, it just needs to be organized, which can be easily done by the AI agents.
You can just put the thought itself and the question will come.
Right. So what I gave was very rough. I didn't even write properly also. I just wrote team development on continuous improvement. Does check-ins, does course correction, give question. That's it. Right. And it gave this question because it already has the input of your first, second, third steps. So it understands what is your requirement, what is your need, what kind of inputs you have given, and what are the outcomes you desire. Basis that, the AI agent worked around it and gave you the set of questions. So these can be easily done. Whatever we are discussing here, the whole sheet can be created and given in seconds. Right? So use AI wherever possible to organize your thought and get the structure. Rest application is your task, where it is a human part and AI can't take that role. Okay. Now, leadership we have done. So we are left with the operations now. Now, operations. Channel your operations.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Okay, dokie. How effectively does the manager monitor daily tasks, follow-ups, and execution of work? And that's everybody that rates that, peers, stakeholders. So I have a question. How would you get everybody's rating?
Yes.
Would you look
Very
at
important.
the
Very important. Because there are bars attached to it. Proficiency level 1 to 5. 1, what kind of, if I give a rating 1, what kind of response you expect?
bad?
What kind of response? Yes, the manager does sometimes. Sometimes. Rating 1. Rating 2. If I give rating 2. Yes, on an average, he does, he keeps on checking twice a week, thrice a week. Does follow-ups and takes updates. Rating 3. Yes, he's a very prompt guy. He does his check-ins regularly and does the follow-ups and helps us to perform our task. Rating 4. Yes, he's a great guy. He's a strong follower. He is a great operations manager. He promptly follows up the task and ensures that we also complete the task and the completion of the execution. And we are always on time because our manager is great. Rating 4. Rating 5 guy. Oh, he's a great guy. I mean, he can take much higher responsibilities. I mean, he handles his work so well. He manages his team so well. His tasks are always on time and well executed. So can you see the level of proficiency bar? Right? So the person who was at the lowest, what was the response? Yes, he does sometimes. And the highest rating, he's a great guy. He's a great operations manager. He does the execution perfectly well. He manages his team well. He does the follow-ups. He's always on time. He takes care of his team members, gives them the feedbacks and handholds them. So see, the proficiency levels bars keeps on increasing, from rating 1 to rating 5. So these were the differentiating factors, basis which the person responds. Now, if you are sending these questions to your team members, to various departments and stakeholders, you also need to define the rating scale. Just by writing rating 1 to 5 will not make them understand what is the level of proficiency that I'm. So these ratings need to be defined for each of the. When you are sending this rating scale, there will be a rating bar with the definitions. Basis that they will do the rating. Okay.
So it's
they're
not
also
on.
called behavioral anchors. So you have to have a behavior at every rating. That is what Wilma is trying to say. That a rating is just not a numerical number, 1 to 5, but it will also have a behavior defined there at every rating. It's like poor, average, good, outstanding, excellent. But what does poor mean? What does, average mean? What does good mean? So that uh, the people who are giving the feedback, they know exactly what has been demonstrated by the or observed by them vis-a-vis that particular competence, what kind of a behavior they have observed. So therefore, it reduces what subjectivity, opinions, views, or bias, and it's more towards closer to objective feedback. Yeah,
For
got it, guys?
example, for example,
Why?
let me tell you, Chanel and everybody in the team, when a rating is given 1 to 5, you give options. Lowest, sometimes. Level 2, most of the times. Level 3, every time. Level 4, continuously he does it on a regular basis. Number 5, what should you give? He handles, I mean, you have to be a little more precise in giving the rating 5. He's above board, like he does his work excellently. So you have excellent work. So like that, you have to give the rating. So that whichever suits the team member would check in those boxes, depending on their day-to-day interactions and the behaviors observed during the operations. Okay. So when
So
you do
why is it in organizations that the manager only does the performance ratings and nobody else is included? The peers aren't included, the stakeholders aren't included. It's just the manager giving a rating for everything. Why? That doesn't make sense because when I'm looking at what you guys did, it's like everybody gets asked, which would make more sense. It would seem like it would be more accurate feedback.
respond. So, if I've got your question right, Chanel, you're saying why is that maybe in your organization or maybe commonly in most of the organization that the manager is appraising and giving the feedback, and why is
Yeah.
it that not everybody like a 360 peers, team members, okay, customers are not giving feedback? Yes. So traditionally, what is to happen? Only the manager is to give feedback. So it depends on the culture of the organization, to what extent they have evolved, to what extent they want to bring in objectivity and transparency. Because what happens is, if your culture is something like confidentiality, the culture here is only manager should give feedback, no, the team and the peers cannot. So obviously, you can have the best of the systems, but if your culture is not letting you, implement it, then it's a failure. So even if you have to have a 360 degrees feedback, you have to develop the right kind of culture. You getting me, Channel? Yeah.
Yes.
Because feedback is something, not everybody can take feedback. And especially if somebody who's reporting to you is giving feedback, think of it, if you are a boss, how would you feel? Right?
Yeah.
So therefore, the 360 degrees feedback, especially, which is a feedback from peers, team members, customers, etc., is not used for salary increments. For the purpose of salary increments, the sole purpose of salary increment, only the manager's rating is typically used. Manager's rating. Okay? Manager's rating. But the feedback got from the 360 is typically used to develop him, to understand the gaps of this person. Sometimes specifically because you want to promote this person, you want to know what are the gaps and can I then give training, or is he a promotionable material? So these are some of the things it will be used for. Okay, Channel. So that
Okay.
helps you to understand better.
Yeah, so the 360 is for more so promotion because it's gonna the promotion they get is gonna affect all those
No, not
people
for
anyway.
promotion. To understand what are the gaps, what are the trainings we need to give. Because what happens is typically that when you are promoted to a higher role, higher position, the competencies differ. Will they differ?
Yes.
For example, I'll give you a very ordinary, very basic example. There is a sales executive and there is a sales manager. If I have to promote a sales executive just because he's doing the targets, he's selling very well to a sales manager, do you think he will be a good sales manager as well because he was a very good sales executive? Yes or no? Will he
No,
be a good sales manager?
No.
depends.
It depends because he is very good at selling, but not necessarily that he will be a good sales manager. Because in the role of a sales manager, the key competences required is not just selling. It is how do you manage to inspire, influence your team to sell? Not that he will sell it directly. So therefore, it asks for leadership. It asks for what is it? Team building. It asks for skills like planning, organizing, problem solving, decision making. So the role is entirely different from just selling. So many a times organizations do promotions from a lower level to a higher level, the first time managers or somebody. But before you promote, you need to actually train them in those key competencies, which are very, very critical for the higher position. You're with me now? Just because,
Yeah.
hey, he's very good at doing this, so I'm going to promote him. But the bar for that is very different, right?
Right.
Okay. So, and 360 degrees feedback, definitely culture is very important because, A, you know, giving feedback, taking feedback, not everybody is comfortable with it. So, you have to create that culture for it because it is a very developmental kind of a stuff. Nobody wants to know, hey, the way you actually give feedback, that's also very important. So, when you said that, why is it not that all organizations give this? But so before that, you really need to kind of nurture or grow that kind of a culture. Yeah,
So
I
this
hope
was
that
step
helps.
three,
That helps
right?
the team. Yeah.
This was step three, which AI helped you to do everything. And you were all in sync with the questions were okay, correct? Internal stakeholder. Is it the right questions?
Yes, those are
We're
good.
talking about relationship and communication with data.
Mm-hmm.
So it can, they can give the rating in 1 to 5. Then there's one open questions as well. What can the manager do to improve communication or stakeholder relationship further? So this is an open-end question which they can answer. Right. So when you are sending these questions, this questionnaire through Google form, generally you capture the data through Google form because there would be thousands of employees, with whom you have to share with various departments. So you have to keep a track of it. So what you will be doing, you will be using Google form to send the questionnaires giving various options. And this 1, 2, 3, this definition should clearly be given on the form. Level 1 is this. So whichever is applicable, they will click on that particular box. And for open answers, you can just leave it for short answers or long answers. So use Google Form to send the questionnaires to your functional heads to further share it with their teams. Next step 4, interpret the scores. Now, what do you mean by this? Interpret the score. Then you have to analyze it, correct? You have collected the data. You have sent the questionnaire form through the Google form. Now you have collected the data and the data is captured with you. So you have to analyze the data. You have the data sheet in front of you now. So see, this is a 360-degree feedback, wherein first feedback is taken from the self, the person himself for whom the rating is being done. He has given 4.5. Second was sent to the manager. He has given 4.2 and the peers are given 4.1. So these are the data received for communication for one of the persons in the department for whom the 360 feedback was being taken. So this is all database which you have to collect from the form, which can be downloaded in Excel sheet directly. Once you have collected the form informations, you can transfer it into Excel sheet directly. No need to cut, copy, paste. Directly you'll get an Excel sheet, and from there you can get all these data. Right? So that is the interpretation part.
So
Yeah.
when you look at this communication data, 4.5, 4.2, 4.1, what do you interpret? So they're almost similar. So the feedback or whatever they are saying, the manager, the peer, in terms of the communication competency, the self also feels is at 4.5 and the rest of them with a very little variance. But when you look at the leadership, the self says 4.2, but look at, manager and peer. They say 3.1 and 3. So it's something which he feels is a good leader, but the manager and the peers feel that, that's an area where requires some kind of a development. So then they can be very specific areas where he needs to be developed. Are you just seeing that data?
Yeah, he's in
Yeah.
denial.
He will first, when you tell him, he will be in denial. There won't be acceptance. Then what would you do, Chanel, when there is denial? Then these guys will say, hey, we have data to show you. We have
Yeah.
what specific instances where you have demonstrated this, right? But if I just say you are at 3, you are at 2, you are at 1, he will say, no way. Now are you with me? So you have data to justify or to show that, yes, and then you can tell him, hey, otherwise what happens? Typically, people are always in a self-denial stage when something they feel is not appropriate. Okay. Thanks, Vilma. Yeah.
So what is the interpretation? Once you have got the data with you on Excel sheet, then what is the interpretation? Strength, development area, and blind spot. So interpretation is that strong communication skills. Yes. Strong communication skill. Development area is leadership development, 4.2. Peers have rated 3.1 and 3. So yes, needs to develop. Blind spots, employee rates leadership higher than others. Employee has rated leadership higher than the other. So that is a blind spot. He has a wrong what?
Self-image.
Perception about himself that I'm great, but actually he's not. Right? So that is the blind spot. So you have rated the person based on the questionnaire sent. You have got the data from them and then interpreted the data as top strength, development area, and blind spot. Okay. Next. So this, I have already shown you how the interpretation was, and then the development. So what do you see?
Yeah. So therefore, we looked at one area which is leadership for him. So what happens? We keep a timeline. Then we tell him, okay, fine. Maybe Action plan will be some kind of leadership coaching by mentors, coaches, or he might have to be attending a workshop in that area, so that he can also get the uh, concepts. And typically, what happens when you are managing, because this is manager and peer, like say, for example, if just for the leadership management, conflict management, so areas where they feel that yes, improvement is required, you can send them also for workshops. So there is so the developmental plan is specific in terms of what the areas need to be developed, and also there's a timeline. Because if you just leave it at, hey, these are the areas to be developed without an action plan, and an action plan should definitely have a timeline, because after that you also need to do some kind of a follow up and see how is he performing, and that regular check-ins and etc. the manager can do and see whether he is being effective and he is improving. That's something you can constantly review. I mean, most of the organizations, when you invest so much in training and coaching etc., definitely they would like to see how is he progressing in the improvement. Okay, so
So good
to
to go.
end it to end it, 360 degrees is like showing showing one mirror. Seeing yourself in one mirror is okay, but 360 is having all around mirrors, so you can actually have your side pose and front pose and back pose, all kinds of things.
So can you
Okay.
see this? Hmm. So what are the steps
Ma'am,
were taken? You mapped the competencies, wrote the behaviors, identified who would be your observers, to whom you would be sending the questionnaires, right? And then you designed the questions for each of the competencies and sent the observers from whom you want the feedback through Google Forms. Once you got and collected the data, you translated it into Excel sheet, got the data, and then did the interpretation for each of the roles on 3 parameters: top strength, development area, and blind spots. And then last, what is the development plan action? So these two were covered under the development plan. Correct? So that completes the 360-degree feedback.
question is that if when we are coming for the final rating, so how we will calculate the final rating? Suppose
From, say, for example, I as an HRBP manager, my performance review has happened. So how will I arrive that final rating of whether
yes,
I am
correct.
3 or whether I am 4? Okay. Now,
Yes,
that final rating is different from a multi 360 degrees or a multi-rater feedback, because
okay,
this rating is not getting clubbed with that. Correct?
okay, okay.
This is only given to some people where they are leaders, they are managers, and you want to promote them. So you want to know what are their gaps, because you want to prepare them. You want to create a pipeline. You want to keep your leaders, readiness of leaders. Or, for example, you are creating a developmental plan. So these are all developed. So it is not used for appraisal. It is not used for rating for a salary purpose. So what you are talking about is the rating that we are
Yeah,
coming now.
correct.
So hey guys, that was such a detailed learning of 360 degrees feedback. Now management. Now when we talked about the performance management system, we said it has few steps. It has 4 steps essentially. Step 1, we talked about performance planning, which happens at the beginning of the year. Yeah. And we went through it thoroughly. If anybody can just contribute 1 or 2 things, what do you do as a part of the performance planning, which happens at the beginning of year for what does the manager do for his reporting at the beginning of the year as a part of the PP? Anybody? Just, because this has already been done. What do you do as a manager at the beginning of the year?
First,
Hmm?
first we set the goal. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. So in the performance planning, which forms the first step of the entire performance management process, you do the goal setting. Essentially, goal setting is you are bringing clarity to your reportee as to what is he supposed to be, what is it he is supposed to be achieving, what is his goal, right? Individual goals. Now, these individual goals will also have what? The goals can be set as KRAs, OKRs. We talked about it, right? And then setting them in a smart way. And then after setting them, you also, okay, I've set the goals, but then how will you evaluate? So you need to have measures. That is KPIs, indicators or measures. How will you measure a goal? And then you'll also need to have targets. How much do you need to achieve? And also how, what competencies are required? Because it is when you are appraising at the end of the year and also managing, it is not only the what part, that is, are you achieving the target, but how are you achieving is also very, very important. So at the beginning itself, you are talking about the what part and the how part. The how part comprises of what? Behavioral competencies. Okay. How do you achieve the goal? By bringing about team development or problem solving or negotiation, whatever is, are some of the key competencies required for that role. Say, for example, just these are the goals: sales growth, customer satisfaction, project completion, etc., cost reduction. So every goal should also have what? The KRA should also have weightage. So when you say weightage, typically it is prioritizing. So typically you should never have a weightage more than 50, because that means it becomes a little lopsided. Okay. So the weightage is not done individually. It is, the manager and the reportee, both they discuss and then they come to a consensus when you actually are prioritizing and giving weightage to the your goals. Now, one thing I must tell you very, very clearly, that when we do goal setting, it is a participative process, and the goals should be agreed by the reportee, and he has to sign a consensus about goal setting. Both the manager and the reportee should agree to the goals. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
having done that, you're also talking about the how part. When we said, how do we achieve these goals? So through these competencies. Like, for example, if these are the goals: sales growth, increase of customer satisfaction, project completion, or cost reduction, if these four are the goals, then then these are the competencies, behavioral competencies, that is collaboration, innovation, leadership, communication. So why are you highlighting them? Because when you are going to appraise, do the performance appraisal and give a final rating, at that point of time, you're also taking into consideration how did you achieve them. And these behavioral competencies, the employee will also have, just like the way we spoke in the 360 degrees feedback, they will have what? Behavioral indicators. Because just by saying collaboration, collaboration is collaboration. But how do I understand it? What do I need to observe? Or what is the kind of a behavior I need to demonstrate? So it needs behavioral indicators. So every organization also has something like competency framework. So every role, you will have a manual where you have written, for HRBP, these are the competencies required. So this is the competency framework where the behavioral indicators will also be mapped. You know, for collaboration, you have to be at 2. For innovation, you have to be at 3. Leadership, you have to be at 4. So everything will be mapped. This is called the competency framework. The competency model, that means the competencies required for a role will be there in the organization. Okay. And if it is not there, then the HR can always take the initiative, create some basic competency models so that it helps the organization. It helps the employee also to perform better. And also at the end of the year, when you evaluate, you know exactly how you are evaluating. Just evaluating, okay, what have you achieved? But the how part is also very, very important because that has an impact. Then what happens? First stage is PP, performance planning. The second stage I talked about is performance managing. It is also called managing performance. So, which happens typically, it could be a quarter, it could be a half yearly. So, what do you do? The managing performance typically. I'm sure all of you go through this process. So, typically, what do you all do when you are managing performance? Yeah. All of you, what do you do to your teams? Like Chanel, what do you do to your people, to your reportees or to your team? How do you manage the performance of your team or somebody reporting into you? Somebody, I think uh, Kalpa Agawali mentioned about it. Regular checks, continuous follow up, coaching, mentoring, and if necessary, because the external, the VUCA world, the external factors have changed. So maybe you need to revise the goals as well. Getting me?
Yeah.
You can't stick on to those old goals, but the external one amount has changed. There is a recession, there is something which has happened. So you need to revise the goals. Okay. So, but this is not when you're managing a performance, you're not giving final rate, mind you. You're only helping the employee to perform better, as opposed to giving him feedback at the end of the year, which is better. A continuous, regular check and a continuous feedback, course corrections, follow ups, that's better. Or just keep quiet and then at the end of the year tell, hey, you have not performed, which is better. Which is better. Hey, guys,
The one
I'm
with
sure.
the mid-year review.
Cons-
Yeah,
no, constantly you need to do
yeah.
mid-year review or even quarterly year review. Some people do it month on month so that you know exactly whether your employees are on track or it needs some help, hand holding or course corrections. Okay. It helps in gap support needed. Then what happens? The third stage is called performance review. And what do you do in that performance review, which happens almost at the end of the year? Two things happen. I don't know how many organizations follow this. There is a self appraisal in the form. You need to appraise yourself vis-a-vis all the goals you have set. Mind you, the goals were set in consensus with your agreement. You have signed off as well. You have signed off everything in terms of what support is required, what extra manpower is required, everything is required. Now you have to appraise yourself and give ratings, right? Vis-a-vis your achievements, giving evidence of whatever you have done, data, and even if there were some challenges, everything. So there is a format in every organization wherein you have to fill in this appraisal form, which is quite detailed. And even if you want some amount of training, etc., and rate yourself. It could be a 1 to 3, it could be 1 to 5, but typically it is 1 to 5. So in self-appraisal, employees tend to rate where? Typically, what will they do? Huh? Okay.
5 out of 5.
5 out
Higher
of
it
5.
will be.
Huh? Or I'll be modest, I'll say 4. I am 4. Right? Now, time to show the mirror. So, like for example, you also has to write example saying that, hey, reduced recruitment TAT from 45 days to 20. TAT is what? Turnaround time. That means, within which time from the time of requisition to the time of closure, the number of days taken. Okay. So that means you're also writing all the evidence to it. Along with your rating, why you have rated, you have to. Now the manager also will give you that's where it is. Manager also evaluates. Evaluates vis-a-vis what? The manager does an evaluation vis-a-vis the goals we have set together. It is not manager's goals. Or it's the goal of both of them, manager and the reportee. They have agreed together to achieve those goals. So now he will also give his evaluation and he will give his comments. And there, Hari Om Singh. Now he will do the final rating here. Have
No,
you
no, I'm
gone for
there.
Yeah.
I'm there, ma'am.
So this is the time where you are doing your rating. So the
Okay.
rating typically in any organization is like this, right? 1 to 5, something very common, and you is everybody familiar with this rating? 1 to 5, which
Yeah.
1 is
Yes.
unsatisfactory and 5 outstanding typically, right?
Yes,
Now, who is
yes.
rating this? Who's rating? Manager is rating it.
Manager rating.
Manager will rate it. And manager will rate it on which the goals which were set jointly together. Okay. So when he is rating this, he's also looking at what part of it, that is the target set, and also the how part of it, that is the behavioral competencies. How did he manage to achieve this, right? So, as I said, why are the behavioral competencies very important? Because they impact the culture of it. Like, for example, if HRPP, okay, you know, there's high attrition, yet I've been a great performer, but not great because there's huge attrition. A lot of team members have resigned. So that speaks a lot about you. So the how part is also very, very important. Now comes a very interesting part. I have rated in my self-appraisal 4, but this guy has given you 3, manager. So what happens? Now the employee will say, sir, you gave me 3, but according to my rating, I'm 4. So then what do you need to do? Oh, no, you are 3. Oh, no, I am 4. So how will they be able to come to a consensus here? Give me some inputs. How will they come
Ma'am,
to consensus?
ma'am, I just want to share one real scenario.
Huh?
Uh, we were doing the appraisal for the one manager,
Huh?
and when we have set the KRA, and the
Hmm.
KRA includes the subordinate as well as the manager, both the persons, right?
Right,
So
right, right.
when we were doing the appraisal, means doing this feedback process, so
Huh.
everything was going to their subordinate only. Okay, you
Okay.
haven't do this. Your subordinate has done this thing. What was your role there? Like this kind of the story was going on that, because
Huh.
manager has done. Manager has what the role of the manager? Manager has initiated the process. He has done everything, but he
Hmm.
has done with the help of the subordinate. So
Okay.
whatever the activity was going on beyond that particular KRA, so
Huh.
every subordinate.
Huh.
So in this scenario, how we have to face this kind of the challenges?
Very interesting, Hariom. You
Yes.
need to check out that manager and give salary, increase the salary of your subordinate.
Yeah, that is the
Sack
thing.
the manager. Okay. So
So
typically, as a compensation expert, I would say you need to do job evaluation and you need to really understand what is the what is the title of the subordinate. So
uh,
see, very many times in organizations this happens. The managers, 80% of the work is being done by the subordinate.
correct.
So then why am I paying higher salary to the manager? So
Yes.
it's very important that you fix KRAs which are exclusively to the manager also. Otherwise, what happens? Manager बैठा रहता है कुर्सी पे and 80% is done by subordinate. So here there is a question of restructuring your roles here. If I do job evaluation points, manager might have 450 and subordinate might have 400. The gap between 450 and 400 is only 50. So I will say the manager either, increase more work for him so that his points get higher and he gets salary. Otherwise, he's doing as good as what the subordinate is doing. Get
Yes,
me?
clear, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
So there is no justification here. And let me tell you, in many organizations, this happens. You are paying manager a higher salary for nothing. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So this clarity has to be brought in. ऐसा नहीं कि you are riding on the subordinate सब कुछ कर रहा है and you only
सब
come
कुछ
अच्छा हाँ कर लिया हो गया follow up अच्छा ठीक है फिर खत्म.
अच्छा, what
This is
was your
not the
role? Your
huh?
role was only the follow-up, nothing else.
Absolutely. So it's very important to give exclusive KRAs. So in many organizations, there are joint KRAs and there are individual KRAs. So it is like 60-40. Got it?
Yeah,
And then,
clear.
and all this has to be cleared during goal setting. It's very important. Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
now
Yes.
when you are having a variance, consensus will arrive by giving data, justifying. Okay, so the manager has to show evidence. Why is he rating him at 3, and show him all the data, everything, because it is not a judgment or it is not his opinion. So opinions, no. So then it becomes the employee will say, oh, he's being very unfair to me. He just gave a rating of 3, but he's not ready to listen to him. So a very good problem, appraisal review happens only when both of them talk openly with a lot of data. Why he rated as 4, he also has to show all the data. So when first phase PP is very clear, clarity is there, then these things really don't arise. Okay. So everything has to be set at the beginning, right at the beginning. How you will be evaluated, how you need to demonstrate, how the performance should look like. Then what happens? Assumptions, probability, benefit of doubt, all these things become lesser. Now, at this stage, some of the managers can give very high rating, 4. Some of them can give very low rating, 2 or 3. So in order to have this, too lenient, too strict, right? So to avoid all these biases, what we call, you will definitely need to have what? Behavioral indicators. The ratings should have behavioral indicators, so that there should be a common understanding stating that if I say this is poor, the behavior is like this. Like earlier Vilma mentioned to you, if it is average, it will be demonstrated like that. So there is no assumption. So you will, what your rating and my rating will be almost the same, because we have a common understanding. So what that point I'm trying to actually make is, how do you ensure that there is common understanding? Why do you have policies? So that people have a common understanding of, hey, this is the way we need to behave here. This is the way we have the culture here. This is the way we get compensation. So policies are meant, so common understanding. So therefore, even for appraisal, under the under the appraisal policy, you will write all those ratings. What does 1 mean, 2 means, 3 means, etc. Now comes the most interesting part. Now I am a guy, I have 100 people in my department. Okay. Now I have given 60 people 5. Is it possible that everybody is an excellent employee? Huh? So I need to do what? Calibration. Or I need to do what we call it as typically normalization. Now, I'm a very lenient business head. I will give everybody a 4 or a 5, and there won't be anybody like 1 and 2. Another business head will be very strict, and I will give what? Only 3 maximum or 4. But so my 4s will be very few. Now, so to bring some kind of a normalization, to bring everybody on the same page, we do calibration, ensure that what? Certain number of people are at 5, certain number of people are at 4. So you use a process called normalization. Now the normalization is different from bell curve. Has anybody heard of a bell curve? Yes, no.
Yes, ma'am.
What is it?
Ma'am, according to the department rating, overall rating, we have to 20% of the people will fall in the the other part, 20%, and
Okay.
60%
Okay. So
will fall
typically
inside
a
rating.
bell curve, typically a bell curve is like a bell-shaped curve, right?
Yeah.
So the point I want to make here in a bell curve is, it is predefined. You know what is predefined? Channel, this is a very important point. Channel or Hari or anybody. It is predefined. Bell curve is predefined. That means I've already set a framework or a template saying that 20% of the people should be 5. I mean, only say, for example, here I'm just saying, only 10% of the people you should give them rating of 5. Only 20% of the people you should give them rating as 4. 60% of the people rating as 3. So I've already defined the percentage of people to be given rating, predefined. So what happens now? Maybe I've increased, I as a business head, I've given more number of people 5. So what will I do? I have to push to ensure that it fits into that predefined target. I have to push people down to 4. And then again from 4, I have to push few people to 3. So therefore, this actually has been being used for the last many, many years traditionally. And I'm sure if some of the old organizations, they must be still using this, that, hey, only, 10% or 15% should be given 5. Why? Because this is also linked to the increment. So why did they have the bell curve? Because they wanted to keep the incremental wage cost budget low. If I have more number of people, say 80% of the people at a rating of 5, what will happen? Please tell me. What is the impact? The wage cost budget will increase because I have to give all the 80% people 5 increment, I mean, rating of 5 increment, right? Higher increment. So therefore, this demotivated people. So traditionally, even few organizations right now follow still the bell curve, but now most of the organizations are shifted to a broad normalization kind of a thing. Okay. Now they got into a normalization, saying that, hey, we need to look at, because salespeople, we can't put all the functions into a bell curve because their nature of operations are different. Because a sales guy has a huge stretch, or it is related to the number of, units he achieves, or the targets which can be quantified, whereas in finance it can't be done. So therefore, depending on the role, depending on the function, so you normalize, and typically you will see that the ratings given for operations, production, these functions will be different. The ratings, that is the normalization for finance, HR, will be a little different in organizations. Okay. So bell curve still people use, but now they are getting broadly into only 1, 2, 3. Broad 1, 2, 3. So the major chunk will be in the middle part. That is the 2. So that you don't have to force fit. Because when you're pushing a person from 5 to 4, that is called force fitting. You're making a person with a higher rating. Because I tell the business head as an HR head, hey, you guys, you have exceeded your 5s. You better bring some of the 5s to 4s. So, if you have already communicated to the employee, that used to be my case. So they'll say, hey, I don't know what happens in the HR, but my business head, he gave me a good high rating. But then it went and then it got marginalized and it became an average rating. But, then they say, hey, some bell curve they use. So it's always very important for employees also to know that what is the kind of normalization, rationalization we are using. So you need to go back and check what is the kind of, normalization you're using, how many 5s, 4s, etc. And as close to accuracy. Like, for example, Google, it hires the best of people. Now, if I use a bell curve and say, hey, you are poor, you are using outstanding people. Can you actually then have a bell curve there? Yes or no? You're as it is recruiting the best of people. And then you will say, so there the performance becomes a relative. Got it? Like, for example, in GE, it says it's not a question of poor or average. We want to actually year on year increase our bar. So therefore, the tail, we want to remove them. We want to exit them. So when I keep eliminating the lowest, just think of it. What happens to the organization? The organization as a whole keeps increasing their performance efficiency bar. Okay. So this calibration happens. Then what happens? Then you are then giving what? A reward. That is, when your final ratings freeze, then you make an increment. Then you also get a bonus based on your rating. So how does increment happen? You have a budget, right? And typically what happens, the VP HR or the head HR will discuss with the CEO and ask, okay, what is the percentage of increment we need to give? Then what will be their benchmark? How does he go about whether they should give a 5% increment or a 6%? How does she go about? He goes about by looking at the benchmarks. What is being given? Looking at published surveys, market surveys in their typical industry. What is the increment? There'll be a range of maybe 5 to 6% or 5 to 8%. Okay, which also includes some amount of percentage for inflation, because you need to also look into the fact that you have to incorporate inflation, what I call it as cost of living index. Okay, so once you decide on 5% or 6% increment, then what do? How do you create a increment budget? You need to multiply that 6% or 7% with your payroll. That is, what is your payroll per annum, right? And then you get your increment budget. Now that increment budget, you are not going to give it everybody equally. Will you give it equally to everybody? No. You will use the what? Rating. Then you will, of course, every business gets its portion. Then you will use the rating. What is the rating given to? So I will go, if I've used normalization, I will say, this is bell curve. So if I've used normalization, yeah. So think in normalization. So I will apportion 10% to the 5 raters, 20% of the budget for 4 raters, 60% of the budget to 3 raters. And this is how I'm going to apportion it. Okay. Maybe a document from our side with regard to how do you calculate the increment budget and how do you distribute that budget? That is, how do you give those increments? Probably I will give you an example, a case study, okay, which will give you a good understanding, because some of you all HR people, I think you should know how at the end, this is a very important exercise. Typically, you won't get it in any book. So how do you create that increment budget and how do you distribute that increments? Okay, guys. So this is the end of, now everybody is happy. They've got their rating, they've got their increments, they've got their bonuses. And then again, the new year starts with a goal setting. So even before you get your reward, at the last stage, you're also discussing your goal setting, for the next year. So when you are doing a performance appraisal, you also know your rating and you're also doing a goal setting for the next year. Okay. Okay.
Ma'am, suppose we are doing the mid-year review, then how we can link this mid-year review with the final review?
Okay, good question. Good question. Typically, in most of the organizations, like say, for example, in a manufacturing organization and all, they will never give a mid-year review rating. Rating is never given. So therefore, you can't say, Abhi to now I have given you a rating of 4. And then again, performance appraisal at the end of the year, I'm giving you a rating of 4. Mid-year review is meant only to look at how far you have achieved, what is happening, course corrections, are you finding it difficult, check-ins, follow-ups. But I'm not giving you a final rating. But in IT organizations, they are actually doing a mid-year review and giving a rating because they have project-based timelines. So they have to complete their projects. So therefore, what is happening in that? So again, mid-year review Rating is given based on what kind of an industry, type of industry. In IT organizations, you definitely are giving a rating because most of your goals are project related, time bound with everything. So they have to complete it. Rating is given. Now again, they will go into other new projects. Correct?
But
Or even if it is every quarter, you can get, and then average of that.
so whether okay, average or whether we will define some percentage that for the mid-year we are
If you
giving
have
some.
taken 60%, 40%, or 50%, depends on the weightage. Definitely depend on the weightage. I take your point. Yeah.
And ma'am, third question is that suppose manager means two managers are doing the review. Okay,
Mm, mm, mm,
for one any employee, two managers are doing the review. So
mm.
how we will make this final review for that?
First of all, two managers will be doing because, say for example, I'm having two managers, Aarti and Hariom. It's a matrix organization or something where 60% of my KRA, whatever, there are four KRAs. Two KRAs or two goals are set by Hariom for me, and two goals are set by Aarti. Again, two goals are maybe 60% and maybe 40% or 50-50. I can't sit in a review without having the consensus or without having understood what is that I need to review. I can't just come suddenly out of blue and say, I'm going to review your performance. Right? I should know what I need to perform under you. So there are positions where there will be, like say for example, there's a payroll guy who's also doing HR work. Okay. So the payroll will have two masters. So maybe the finance department also is giving a rating. The HR is also giving a rating. But that doesn't mean I'm just looking at an overall rating. No, I will assess only my part, what you have done for me. You will assess your part, what you have done for you. Got it? And
Yes,
then
ma'am.
depending on the weightage you can do. So you got to be fair, no? Yeah.
Clear, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome.
Is there a way you can show us how to do the bell curve in Excel?
Yes. In Excel. Okay, huh? Like for example, sample data set for bell curve in PMS. Okay. Now you have, these are the departments. Now these are the performance scores and these are the final ratings. What's a bell curve? Bell curve, when we say, that means I'm defining, predefining, huh? Predefining the categories of my rating scale as to how many should be in a particular category. You understood that? Say, for
Yeah.
example, I have scores out of how many people? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
10,
6.
10, 10, 10.
10 people here. Okay, 10 people. Okay, everybody. So when you're talking about a bell curve, so now what you have done, you have defined the categories. That means you have defined that in poor performance, only 10% of your people will be there. In year 2, there should be 20% of the people. Now, look at the scores, what we have. You think we can bring the scores here? Yeah. So maybe you have to put them into a ascending or descending order. So now you'll have to see, out of 10 people, how many do you have 5s? And how many do you have 4s? And how many do you have 3s and 2s?
Okay.
Wilma,
Yeah.
first define the predefined. Like for example, we have 10 people, right? So put them here. Like one, how many should be at 5 and how many should be at 4 and how many should be at 3? First put this predefined. How many should be? 10% of 10 will be 1. No, here. Next to the bell curve percentage, yeah.
Acha.
10% of 10.
Of 10 is 1.
Because you have 10 people, no?
Hmm.
20% of 10.
2.
So 1, 2, 4.
This is how much? 4.
Two.
20% of
2 of
Two.
10.
20% of 4 is
No, no, of 4 नहीं. 20% of 10 parts, 10
Ten.
employees, no?
2.
2.
40% of 10, 4.
4.
Again, 20% of 10, 2. ये कौन सा
20% of 10.
2.
2. 1.
1. Do they add up to the numbers? So
10. Yes.
this is your predefined. Okay, let me now start. So when I'm saying predefined, I have already decided that you will have, if you have 10 people, you should be giving only one person 5, you should be giving only 2 people 4, you should be giving only 4 people 3, and you should be giving 2 people 2 and 1 person 1. Got it? I've predefined it already. Okay. Now you have given the ratings. Yeah, let's go up. You have given these ratings. Okay. So now to fit this final rating with this predefined, I may have to do some what? Not that here. So final rating. So I need to check now. Two people are there, 5. So I need to force fit one person, push him to 4. No. See, there are 2 people, 5, right? So 92 score and 95. So I'll say 95 guy will have 5. And I will do force fitting of 5 to 4. So this person, so add another column here. So this person will become 4. 92 score person will become 4 again. So I have to ensure that I fit in these numbers with this. So I'm force fitting now. This person will become 4. Let's see if changes. Yeah. Now how many 4s are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it fits in. How many 3s are there?
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Okay. No. I'm so sorry. So have you done this? 5, you are doing 4. Now, how many 4 should be there? Only 2 people. Now here there are 4 people. So can we only keep 2 of 4 people, that is 88 and 85, and now push the other people to 3.
Three is 4.
Yeah, 4 people should be having 3.
We can push this.
40% of the people should be having 3.
This we can push.
But here, yeah. So we will go by the scores. So we will take the higher scores and keep them. And because we only need to have 2 people at 4, the rest of them will, 88 and 85 we will keep. And 81 we will push to 3.
So this is part of calibration, right?
Yeah, we are doing calibration now.
So this is fine. This is 5. 1
Yeah,
is 5.
this is right.
1 is 5.
Yeah.
Okay, done.
Yeah. We need to have only 2 people
4.
at 4.
4, we need 2.
2 people. So the
These 2 we
88, yeah,
can
and
these two.
right.
4 and this is 3. This is 3. Correct?
3. Right. Now we need to keep 4 people at 3.
This is done.
We need to keep 4 people at 3.
This is also done.
Yeah.
3 is how many? 4.
Yeah.
3 you need 4.
4. Yeah.
So 2 here and these 2.
So we have 4, is it?
These 2. 3 and 3, correct?
Right. Right.
So we have got 4. Yes, we have got 4. Done. 2, 2. So this is 2 and this is 2. Okay. This
Okay.
the lowest 3 got calibrated to 2.
Right.
Okay. So this is
Yeah.
also done.
Now one guy will go off to 1 now.
1, this is 1.
1. So now what happens typically GE, it knocks off that guy. They will ask him to leave.
So you understood the scoring, basically how the scoring is done. Once you have the data, the final rating, and then the calibration, depending on the percentage.
So